Marcus Reed stared at the flickering holographic display showing his bank account balance and felt his stomach drop through the floor of the dingy space station. 450 credits. That was all that remained of his life savings after 3 months of failed job interviews and overpriced rations on Nexus Prime. The greasy cantina around him buzzed with the usual collection of smugglers, merchants, and drifters. The air reeked of synthetic alcohol and desperation, which seemed fitting for his current situation. 6 months ago, he'd been the best starship mechanic in the Terran colonies. Now, he couldn't even afford passage back to Earth. Another synthy beer? Asked the bartender, four-armed Rigelian whose scales gleamed under the neon lights. Marcus shook his head, nursing his half-empty glass. He needed to make his remaining credits last. Tomorrow, he'd have to find work, probably in some corporate shipyard, where they'd treat him like just another wrench turner. The thought made him sick. "You look like a man with nothing left to lose," said a voice beside him. Marcus turned to see a thin, well-dressed human with calculating eyes and an expensive suit that screamed con artist. The man's smile revealed perfectly white teeth that had definitely been upgraded. "Name's Vincent Cross," the stranger continued, extending a manicured hand. "I couldn't help but notice your financial predicament." "Not interested in whatever you're selling," Marcus muttered, but something in the man's expression made him pause. Vincent's smile widened. "I'm not selling anything. I'm offering opportunity." Ever heard of Blackwater auctions? Marcus had heard whispers in the darker corners of the station. Ships sold with no questions asked, their histories buried deeper than black holes. The kind of place where you could buy a vessel that used to belong to someone who mysteriously vanished. "I know a guy," Vincent continued, sliding a datapad across the table. "Tonight's auction has some interesting lots. Ships going cheap." Very cheap. The pad displayed a list of vessels, most looking like they'd lost fights with asteroids. But one entry caught Marcus's eye, a Zilithian light cruiser, starting bid only 500 credits. Even damaged, Zilithian ships were legendary for their advanced technology and elegant design. "What's the catch?" Marcus asked. Vincent's expression darkened slightly. Previous owner disappeared under mysterious circumstances. "Ship's been sitting in impound for months. Some say it's cursed." Marcus laughed bitterly. "Our luck's been so bad lately. Cursed might be an improvement." 2 hours later, Marcus found himself in Hangar 94, watching an eclectic crowd of beings examine various spacecraft. The auction house looked like it had been assembled from spare parts and bad decisions. Holographic displays flickered as an overweight auctioneer in a garish jacket gestured wildly. "Lot 47, the auctioneer announced. A genuine Zilithian light cruiser, the Starfire. Note the elegant hull design and quantum phase shields." The ship that appeared on the main display took Marcus's breath away. Despite obvious damage, she was beautiful, sleek lines that spoke of speed and power. With the distinctive blue-silver hull that marked Zilithian craftsmanship, even the scorch. Marx couldn't diminish her grace. "Bidding starts at 500 credits, the auctioneer called. The crowd shifted nervously. Marcus could see why there was something unsettling about the way the ship's lights pulsed in the darkness of the hangar, like a heartbeat. "Come now," the auctioneer urged as silence stretched. "This is Zilithian technology at a fraction of its value. Still no takers." The price began dropping rapidly as the auctioneer grew desperate. Marcus felt that familiar tingle in his chest, the same sensation he'd gotten the first time he'd seen a classic Earth muscle car. This was a machine worth saving. 400 credits, the auctioneer tried. 300. Marcus's hand shot up before his brain could stop it. 800. The hangar fell silent. Every head turned toward him, and Marcus felt like he'd just volunteered to wrestle. A space kraken. The auctioneer's face cycled through several interesting colors. Did you say 800, sir?" "That's right," Marcus said, his voice steadier than he felt. 800 credits. "That's my bid." Nervous laughter rippled through the crowd, but no one countered. Within minutes, Marcus found himself the proud owner of a Zilithian warship, wondering if he'd just made the best or worst decision of his life. As he approached the ship with his new ownership papers, her airlock hissed open with a sound like a sigh. The interior was dark except for the soft blue glow of emergency lighting. Marcus stepped inside, breathing in air that smelled faintly of ozone and something floral he couldn't identify. Beautiful, isn't she? Marcus spun around, his heart hammering. Standing in the corridor behind him was the most stunning woman he'd ever seen. The woman was definitely not human, though she was humanoid enough to make Marcus's pulse race. Her skin had a subtle silver sheen, and her eyes were the deep blue-black of space between stars. Her hair flowed like liquid starlight, and she wore form-fitting clothing that looked like it had been woven from moonbeams in shadow. "Who the hell are you?" Marcus managed, his hand instinctively reaching for the plasma cutter on his belt. She tilted her head, studying him with those impossible eyes. "I am Kestra Zinvaldris, daughter of House Valdris and rightful captain of this vessel. The question is, who are you, and why are you on my ship?" "Your ship." Marcus pulled out his ownership papers, hands shaking slightly. "I just bought this thing at auction. It's mine now." Kestra glanced at the documents with what might have been amusement. "Those papers give you legal ownership of a hull and engine. They do not grant you captaincy. The Starfire's AI will only respond to my voice commands." As if summoned by her words, the ship's lighting brightened slightly, and a melodic chime echoed through the corridors. Marcus felt the vibration through the deck plates as systems came online. "Impossible," he muttered. "Ship A's don't work that way." "Zilithian A's bond with their captains," Kestra explained, moving gracefully down the corridor. Her movements had a liquid quality that was both alien and hypnotic. "I've been bonded to Starfire for 3 years." Marcus followed her, trying to process this information. "So what were you doing hiding in an impounded ship?" Kestra's expression darkened. "Hiding from those who would see me dead or worse. Your auction was convenient timing. Most would assume the ship empty." They entered the bridge and Marcus caught his breath. The command center was a work of art, with flowing curves and surfaces that seemed to pulse with inner light. Holographic. Displays showed star charts and system diagnostics and scripts he couldn't read. "The hyperdrive coupling is damaged," Kestra said, her fingers dancing over controls that responded to her touch with musical tones. "And the port shield generator needs recalibration. Can you handle such repairs?" "Lady, I can fix anything that flies," Marcus said, with more confidence than he felt. "But first, I need to know what I'm getting into."
Why are people trying to kill you?"
Kestra was quiet for a long moment, her hands still moving across the controls.
"Oh."
The ship hummed around them, and Marcus realized he could feel her contentment. Through the deck plates, ship and captain were truly bonded. "I am the last daughter of a noble house," she said finally. "My family arranged a marriage to secure a political alliance. I refused. They declared me dead to them. My betrothed, however, prefers his prizes alive, so you stole a warship and ran. Starfire was my graduation gift from the academy. I earned the right to captain her." Pride flashed in her eyes. "But I cannot run forever. Eventually, Threx will send enough hunters to overwhelm even Zilithian defenses." Marcus studied her profile as she worked. There was steel beneath her ethereal beauty, a strength that reminded him of tempered metal. "But you don't have to run. Maybe you need a partner instead." She turned to face him, eyebrows raised. "You would help a stranger. What do you gain?" "Ship I can't fly, and a woman who can't fix engines," Marcus said with a grin. "Sounds like we need each other." For the first time, Kestra smiled, and the expression transformed her face from beautiful to radiant. "You are either very brave or very foolish, Marcus Reed." "Probably both," he admitted. "So, partner, what's our first move?" "Repairs," she said, then paused. "But first, you should know I have no credits to pay you. Good thing I don't have." "Anywhere else to spend them?" Marcus replied. "Besides, half ownership of a Zilithian cruiser seems like fair payment." Their eyes met across the bridge, and Marcus felt something electric pass between them. Kestra's alien features softened slightly, and he caught a glimpse of vulnerability beneath her regal composure. "Very well, Marcus Reed," she said softly. "Let us see what the stars hold for us." As if responding to some unheard signal, the ship's systems hummed more strongly. and Marcus could swear he felt approval radiating from the Starfire herself. Whatever he'd gotten himself into, there was no backing out now. 3 days into their partnership, Marcus had developed a healthy respect for Zilithian engineering and an unhealthy fascination with his enigmatic captain. Kestra moved through the ship like she was dancing, her every gesture perfectly in tune with Starfire's rhythms. Watching her work was like observing poetry in motion. The hyperdrive coupling should hold now, Marcus said, wiping grease from his hands as he emerged from the engine compartment. But we need to test it at low power. First, Kestra nodded from her position at the navigation console, her fingers trailing across holographic controls. There is a suitable system 3 light-years from here. It's uninhabited, with plenty of space for trials. The jump to hyperspace was smoother than Marcus had expected. Zilithian ships moved through folded space like silk through water, nothing like the bone-jarring experience of human vessels. He was beginning to understand why these ships were so coveted, dropping back to normal space in 3.2.1. Stars wheeled around them as they emerged from hyperspace near a red dwarf system. Kestra immediately began running diagnostics while Marcus monitored the engine output from his jury-rigged station. "Everything looks good," he reported. "The couplings holding steady, and the resonance frequency is within normal parameters." "Excellent work," Kestra said, and the warmth in her voice made something flutter in Marcus's chest. "You have proven yourself quite capable." Before Marcus could respond, alarms began blaring throughout the ship. The main display lit up with tactical information as 3 vessels dropped out of hyperspace around them. "Pirates," Kestra said grimly, her hands moving to weapon controls. "Kargan raiders, judging by their ship configuration." The lead pirate vessel opened a communication channel, and a scarred face appeared on the screen. The alien looked like someone had crossed a shark with a particularly bad mood. "Zilithian ship, you will surrender your cargo and passengers. Good. Resist, and we will sell your remains by the kilogram." "Counterproposal," Kestra said with deadly calm. "Withdraw immediately, and I might let you keep your ships." The pirate's laughter sounded like grinding metal. "Arrogant as always, Zilithians. Attack pattern Delta. Take them alive if possible." The screen went dark as the pirates moved to attack. Formation. Marcus felt his heart rate spike as energy readings spiked across his displays. "I should mention," he said, "I've never been in space combat before." "Then this will be educational," Kestra replied, her hands flying over controls. "Take the auxiliary. Weapons station. Follow my lead and try not to die." The first barrage from the pirates lit up Starfire's shields like fireworks. The ship shuddered under the impact, but her defenses held. Kestra returned fire with surgical precision, her shots carving through the lead raider's shields.
"Outside."
Marcus called out, watching his sensors. "I see them," Kestra said, banking the ship hard to starboard. The maneuver threw Marcus against his station, and he grabbed onto the console for stability. "Fire on my mark. ... Mark." Marcus triggered the auxiliary weapons, watching twin beams of coherent energy lance out toward the nearest pirate. His shots went wide, but they forced the raider to break off its attack run. "Good. Keep them guessing, while I line up a killing shot." For the next 10 minutes, the bridge became a symphony of controlled chaos. Kestra flew like the ship was an extension of her body, dancing between energy beams and missile salvos. Marcus did his best to provide covering fire, gradually getting a feel for the weapon systems. The turning point came when one of the raiders made the mistake of trying to ram them. Kestra waited until the last possible second before diving beneath. The attacker then rolled inverted and fired directly into their engine compartment. The pirate ship exploded in a brilliant fireball. "Two left," Marcus called out, adrenaline singing in his veins. "Not for long," Kestra replied. She was right. Faced with Zilithian precision and their comrades' destruction, the surviving pirates decided discretion was the better part of valor. They jumped to hyperspace so quickly, they probably gave themselves whiplash. As the immediate danger passed, Marcus became aware of his racing heart and the way his hands were shaking. He looked over at Kestra and found her watching him with those star-deep eyes. "Well done, partner," she said softly. Something in her tone made him look closer. There was a thin line of silver blood running down her temple, and her left arm hung. At an awkward angle? "You're hurt," he said, moving toward her before conscious thought could intervene. "It's nothing serious," she protested, but winced as he gently examined her arm. "Dislocated shoulder," Marcus diagnosed, his hands surprisingly steady. "This is going to hurt. Trust you," she said, and the simple words carried more weight than a formal contract. Marcus braced himself and pulled, feeling the joint pop back into place. Kestra gasped, her free hand gripping his arm with surprising strength. For a moment they were frozen like that, her face inches from his, her breath warm against his cheek. "Better?" he asked quietly. She nodded, but neither of them moved apart. Marcus found himself studying the curve of her lips, the way her silver skin seemed to glow in the bridge's soft lighting. She was alien, impossible, and absolutely captivating. "Marcus," she whispered, and he could hear something fragile in her voice. He reached up to wipe the blood from her temple, his thumb tracing the delicate line of her cheek. Her eyes fluttered closed at his touch, and he felt her lean slightly. Into his hand, "We should. Tend to your other injuries," he managed. "Yes," she agreed, but her eyes said something entirely different. The moment stretched between them, electric and full of possibility, until Starfire's gentle chime reminded them where they were. The asteroid field was a chaotic maze of tumbling rock and ice, stretching for millions of kilometers around the system's outer gas giant. Kestra piloted Starfire through the debris with skill that bordered on the supernatural, weaving between house-sized boulders while the Nexari hunter followed like a deadly shadow. "He's good," Marcus reported from his station, watching the tactical display. "Staying right with us through every maneuver. Nexari are bred for this," Kestra replied, her concentration absolute as she rolled beneath a massive asteroid. "But they are also predictable. They hunt by analysis, not intuition." A barrage of energy fire lit up the space around them, the hunter's shots carving chunks from nearby asteroids. One beam grazed Starfire's shields, causing fluctuations across the power grid. "Shields at 80%, Marcus called out. "He's trying to disable us, not destroy us." "He needs me alive for the bounty," Kestra confirmed. "But you are expendable." As if summoned by her words, the next salvo targeted the ship's engine section where Marcus had been working for days. He felt personal offense at the attack. "On his repairs, can we lose him deeper in the field?" he asked. "Ups, yes. But there is a mining station near the field's center, if the hunter corners us there. ... She didn't finish the thought. Marcus studied the tactical display, an idea forming. It was dangerous, probably suicidal, but it might be their only chance. "What if we don't run?" he said. Kestra spared him a quick glance. "Explain," he said. "Nexari. Hunt by analysis. So we give them something to analyze that doesn't make sense." Marcus's fingers flew over his console. "Can you get us to that large asteroid cluster at bearing 275? The one with the unstable ice formations?" "That would be extremely dangerous." "Perfect. Can Starfire's shields withstand direct contact with ice?" Understanding dawned in her stardark eyes. "For a short time, but if we're wrong, then we die together instead of being separated forever." Their eyes met across the bridge, and Marcus saw his own certainty reflected in her gaze. Whatever happened next, they would face it as partners. "Hold on," Kestra warned, banking hard toward the cluster. The Nexari hunter followed, his ship's weapons charging for what he probably assumed would be a killing shot. Marcus watched the range close. 5,000 meters, 4,000, 3... ... Now, he shouted, castroid straight into the asteroid cluster, using Starfire's shields to blast through the ice formations. The superheated vapor created an instant fog bank that obscured all sensors. Behind them, the hunter's shots went wide as his targeting systems lost lock. "He's blind," Marcus reported. "But so are we." "Not entirely," Kestra said, her hands dancing over controls that only she could read. "Starfire can sense mass distribution through the ice. We have maybe 60 seconds before the vapor disperses." They emerged from the fog bank behind the hunter, their roles suddenly reversed. The Nexari pilot was skilled, but he'd been caught completely off guard. His ship was turning to face them when Marcus opened fire with everything Starfire had. The barrage overwhelmed the hunter's shields, and his ship began venting atmosphere. But instead of exploding, it went into an emergency shutdown, drifting powerless among the asteroids. "He's alive," Kestra observed. "Nexari's ships have excellent survival systems." "Good. I'm not a killer even of bounty hunters." They watched the disabled ship for several minutes, making sure it posed no further threat. Finally, Kestra activated communications. "Nexari Hunter, this is Princess Kestra of House Valdris. Your hunt is ended." The hunter's image appeared on screen, his mask cracked to reveal part of a scarred but oddly attractive face. "Princess, you have proven ... formidable. But Vorthok will send others." "Let him send armies," Marcus said, moving to stand beside. "Kestra will be ready." "Humans," the hunter said, with what might have been amusement. "So predictable in your unpredictability." His image faded as he cut the connection. As they left the asteroid field behind, Marcus felt the adrenaline slowly drain from his system. They had one, but he knew the hunter was right. There would be others. "We cannot run forever," Kestra said quietly, echoing his thoughts. "Then we don't run. Find a place to make a stand. Allies will help us fight." She turned to face him fully, and he saw wonder in her expression. "You would do that? For me? For us," he corrected. "This isn't just about protecting you anymore, Kestra. What we have, what we're building together, it's worth fighting for." She moved closer, her hands coming up to frame his face. Her skin was warm and soft, and he could see flecks of silver in her dark eyes. "I love you, Marcus Reed," she said simply. "I did not expect to find such a gift among the stars." "Love." "You too," he replied, the words feeling both natural and momentous. "My alien princess with a stolen starship and a price on her head." Her laugh was like music, bright and joyous. "And I love my human mechanic who bid on a ship and found a partner." Instead, when they kissed, it was gentle at first, tentative, then deeper, as weeks of growing attraction finally found expression. She tasted like starlight and promises, and Marcus felt like he was coming home to a place he'd never known he was searching for. When they finally broke apart, Starfire's gentle chimes seemed almost like applause. "So, co-captain," Kestra said, her formal tone undermined by the smile playing at her lips. "Where shall we set our course?" Marcus looked at the star charts displayed around them, at the vast galaxy full of possibilities and dangers. With Kestra beside him and Starfire carrying them toward whatever came next, the future had never looked brighter. "Wherever the wind takes us," he said, "as long as we're together." The ship hummed around them, alien technology bonded to human determination and Zalithian grace. Somewhere behind them, bounty hunters plotted and warlords raged. But here in the space between stars, two hearts had found their home. Together, they sailed into the infinite night.